I think it's high time for us to start, right? So once again, for those who have just joined us, my name is Julia Kainitz. I'm a methodologist at Internal Education, and today I'm here to talk to you about High Note. So maybe some of you have already heard about this course, so you will know what exactly is High Note. And for me, it's a perfect resource for upper secondary school students that is aimed at bridging the gap between their school life, what they experience while they are still at school, and what they will face as soon as they leave school, both at the universities if they continue to study, at work, in just social life. So everything will be represented here in this book. So as you can see from the pictures, there are 5 levels of High Note, starting from A2 to C1, or maybe even C1 plus if we take a closer look at the SAFR scale. And if you really look attentively at the levels here, the SAFR levels, you will see that level 3 is full B2, level 4 is B2/B2 plus. So this resource is a little bit higher in the SAFR levels than some other resources for this age group that you may find. That is why I absolutely, recommend that you start, if you want to start using High Note, you start not earlier than year 8 at school, so that you finish with level 4, which is B2 plus if you use it year per year, and it's absolutely enough. Well, for any student today, you will see how intensive this course is. So these are the levels, these are the forms that I recommend using this book with. And again, we are talking about teaching in upper secondary school. And I think that there are lots of teachers of upper sec here in the room. So this is you. This is a representation of a typical upper secondary school teacher. And let's think what is on her list when she's choosing a resource for upper secondary school. So what does she want to be in the book in terms of, well, teaching English, especially, for upper secondary school? Well, as a teacher who used to teach mostly in upper sec, on my list, the first thing that comes to mind definitely is exam preparation. And this is something, that I want to clear at the very beginning, that no matter what you, hear or see or learn and read about High Note and some other great features of this course, I want just to make sure that you are aware that exam preparation is available. Even more so, exam preparation here, as usual, consists of everything you need. So you will see some exam task types in every lesson, almost in every skills lesson, definitely. You will see exam tips and strategies. And at the same time, what I like the most is that this exam prep is absolutely stress-free. So what I mean is that nowhere in the book will your students actually see the word exam. So it doesn't say this is an exam task. Right now you're preparing for your Zeno exam or for any other exam. They are still doing the same activities. They are learning approaches on how to do the activities. But at the same time, they are not that, stressed out. They are not that worried. And just for you, just some examples. So did you know, here's some fun information that I found in High Note, something very useful and very important to know for, everyone, basically, because we are all traveling, are the emergency phone numbers for other countries. So let's start with the easiest one. In the USA, what do you need to dial to call for emergency? Do you know? Yes, guys, you're absolutely correct. Thanks a lot. You've been watching some American movies, definitely, so you know this. It's 911. Absolutely. So this is something our students need to know if they want to travel to the US. They need to know how to call for ambulance or police or any kind of emergency service. What about the UK? Because we all dream about traveling to London probably, and maybe sometime you have done that or you will do it with your students or they will do it on their own. So they need to know how to call for emergency in the UK. And I can see two options, two different answers in the chat box, and you are all absolutely correct. Because the UK inner number is 999, so close to 911, just 3 nines. But you can also use the European number, the one that we are trying to adopt here in Ukraine as well, which is 112. So you're all absolutely correct. You won't be lost. You won't get into trouble when you're traveling. So congratulations on that. I didn't know about 999. Honestly, I knew about the European number, the USA, but the UK number was something new for me. And actually, this fact box comes from this listening and vocab lesson here in High Note 3, which you remember is B1 plus, almost full B2 level. And right here we have our listening task. It's 5 different short recordings, ABC options. So you can immediately see it's ZenEO task 1. No pictures here because again it's B2 level already, but still it's ZenEO preparation. Moreover, you can see again on the page there is a box called active listening. So these are the strategies that our students need to use to do a task like this. Here, it's identifying the speaker's purpose. So why are they calling the emergency services? Because that's the topic of the lesson. It's a question that can appear in the task, very often. Why? What's happening? What's the purpose? What's the reason for this dialogue to be happening at all? And these active listening boxes, like here, before you listen, while you listen, so some strategies, active reading, linking words, and skimming, scanning, and so on, and even active writing boxes in the workbook, like here, it's how to plan a semi-formal email. Again, something that is in the program of ZenEO, so it will be useful for our students, definitely. So all these boxes, they appear throughout all the levels, starting from the very first level, so A2. There will still be some, tips for our students because they are already preparing for their tests. They just don't know about that, right? So we don't stress that too much in year 8. It's probably too early. And the best thing that I found so far in terms of exam prep in a resource like this is that the revision spreads after each unit are a little bit different than in other books. So usually revision is just, probably a number of exercises, maybe some reading, lots of vocab and grammar revision, and basically that's it. Then you do the test. Here, the authors of High Note created these revision pages to be fully exam preparation spreads. So if we take a look, if we leave, for a moment the vocab and grammar part, because obviously that's important if we talk about revising after a unit, we've got use of English, multiple choice, ZenEO type task. We've got our reading, here it's matching, again, it's ZenEO type task. And actually every other unit, it will be listening or reading. So they exchange each other. So unit 5, you have reading, then unit 6, you will have listening task. And at the end, there is writing. Again, it's a semi-formal email competition entry. So ZenEO program, definitely. So all parts of exam prep are covered here in these revision spreads, which is, absolutely effortless. So you do revise the material from the unit, and at the same time, once again, you practice for your exams. I think it's just amazing because it really saves you time. It's all in one place. So, and again, if we pay a closer, look to the pages, there are these strategy boxes, like what to do with a gap text, how to write this semi-formal email. So even here, again, there will be some tips and exam strategies for our students to take a look at and to remember and to practice when they are doing the activities. Doesn't say exam strategy, but we know, and they will know at the end, they will understand that they've been preparing for the test all along. So exam prep is definitely in Highnote. I hope that we cleared that out. It's an exam prep source, so everything is here. Number 2, for me, again, as upper secondary school teacher, will be language teaching and, intensive language teaching. Because if we talk about Highnote, this is a resource to be used in a specialized school. It really requires, these at least 4 or 5 hours per week because of how much there is in the book and how high the level of each book is. So I just wanted to show you, this is Unit 1 from Highnote 3. So it's a structure of each unit. Just take a quick look. We've got at least 2 grammar lessons per unit, at least 2, because sometimes there is a separate grammar section in some other lessons as well, in some other subsections. And take a look here. It's from 4 to 5 different sets of vocabulary. So, of course, there is a vocabulary page and a vocab spread, but vocabulary is also present in every single lesson. So again, let's start with an example. I really, really like these phrases. Some of them were, again, new to me, so I wonder if you know them. So I will show you some phrases on the screen, and I want you to vote in the chat box whether this phrase means success or failure. Okay? So the first phrase is be a huge flop. So do you know, is it a positive or negative thing to be a huge flop? Does it mean success or failure? Okay, I can see some people answering. Lots of them are typing. Yeah, you're very good in using, I don't know even what to call them, not abbreviations, no contractions, but just a minus was absolutely perfect. It's negative, right? It's a failure. So be a huge flop means that it didn't work, right? So it just crashed, whatever the project was. Go viral. It's a very, very, common and popular phrase right now. You will hear it in lots of videos on YouTube. And it is here in Highnote because it's a brand new course. So all the brand new, fresh vocabulary is in it. And you're absolutely right. This is positive. To go viral means to spread all over the place so everybody knows what it is and maybe does or, repeats that, like some dance moves or something. Okay, one more for you. To come to nothing. What do you think? Is it positive or negative? I think it's pretty easy to guess because of the word nothing in it. Yes, you're absolutely right. So once again, come to nothing is definitely a failure. So it didn't end on anything, well. So it all ended absolutely terribly. And the last one, to take off or a takeoff. So usually we think about this phrase or verb as, meaning to take off like with a plane, right? When the plane leaves the ground. But it is actually, you're absolutely correct. It's a way to deliver this meaning of success. So when you launch, for example, a project or a startup somewhere, on the new mobile app or something like that, if it takes off really well, it means that it's going viral. It means that people are interested, people are taking part in the project, so it is going good. So take off is definitely a positive phrase. Thanks a lot for your ideas. You're very on point here. And these phrases I took actually from a listening and vocab lesson here from Highnote 3. And you know, there are lots of phrases in this lesson. Maybe you can already see them on the page. Can you guess how you can easily find them? So where are all the vocabulary units that are new from this page? Where is this vocab set hidden? Yes, Nina, you're absolutely correct. It's in blue. So in this level, because High Note 3, you can see from the cover, it's blue. So all the key vocabulary on every single lesson will be highlighted in blue. If we take, for example, level 2, which is yellow, then all the key vocab will be yellow. So it depends on the level of the book. It's very easy to find, very eye-catching, you know, another great idea from the authors of the course, which I really, really like. The same with reading. Again, we can see these phrases in the text. Same with writing even. It's a writing example, but still there is a set of vocabulary that's connected with posting. So you can see here, it's again in blue, like sleeping disorders, lack of sleep, concentrate, stress, so lots of adjectives, lots of fun vocab. And I have already said that in each unit, there is a separate lesson on vocabulary. So for example, here, Unit 8, the topic is money. And you will always easily find this vocab lesson because it is different. It looks different from every other lesson in the unit. So who is the most attentive here? Who can guess, who can tell us how we can easily find this page even if we are, you know, just flicking through the pages of the book? Can you guess? Okay, so once again, blue is mentioned, you're right. So what is blue here? Yes, Natalia, it is all blue. The whole page is blue. So you will be able to very easily, very quickly find this vocab lesson to see the, you know, the key, the nuclear set of vocab for this particular unit. It is always on this blue page, on this vocabulary lesson. And remember at the very beginning, first of all, I said that High Note is a course that helps our students to prepare for their future life while they are still at school. And at the same time, I said, you know, it's a little bit higher than other resources, and it actually requires a little bit more from students, even in terms of just, you know, responsibility of their own learning process. And you can easily see that in the workbook. So I will just show you a spread. It's a reading spread, but it works the same with listening in the workbook. So it's to be covered at home, obviously. And take a look at these exercises, 4, 5, 6. This is an extra vocab that they need to study alone at home. So there are always, you know, some, again, boxes like active vocabulary here to give them some theory. Here it's phrasal verbs. And there are exercises to practice this vocab. And this vocab comes from the text. So it's nothing new. It's just the same as we usually work in the classroom. But they need to do it on their own at home. It's self-study. So for reading lessons and for listening lessons, they will have these two new sets of vocabulary, which are not mentioned anywhere in the student's book, apart from the word list at the end and the test. So if they don't cover it at home, you will not touch upon it on the lessons in the classroom. Well, only if you are, you know, checking the homework, then obviously yes. Or if they are working distantly at home, which is possible with High Note, then it's all, you know, up to their own levels of responsibility. So if they can handle it or not, that's just for them. And again, at the beginning of this section, like intensive language teaching, I showed you this unit structure, lots of vocab, and grammar, at least 2 lessons of grammar per unit, remember? So now I want to give you, you know, the first glimpse of High Note 4. So it's brand new. It's the last level that was published, that right here. So it's absolutely fresh. You will be the first to see what's inside High Note 4. And just a quick reminder, this level, High Note 4, is B2 slash full B2 plus. So it is really a little bit higher than your usual level 4. If you compare it to, well, some other book, it's a little bit more. You will now see why. So this is the very first spread of the book. So Unit 1 starts here. The first spread is always grammar and vocab. So we always start every unit with some vocabulary input and some grammar input. So let's look at the grammar in this lesson. Once again, I remind you this is the first lesson, well, the first spread, so maybe the second lesson of the year, of the whole book. It just starts here. And this is our grammar page. So here are all the grammar exercises. And these are the rules. And if you look attentively, if you quickly count, there are 7 different grammar tenses here in this lesson. Okay, so you can easily, immediately understand this is not an input per se, right? It's revision. So you start with revising everything that you should have learned by this moment. It's 7 tenses, all 4 present tenses, 3 past tenses, with past perfect being the last one. And you can also see grammar reference and practice, page 172. So there are more detailed rules there and some more activities to practice there. So I hope that you can see and, maybe compare it with the other resources that you are using and really understand that this is not, a book to joke around with. This is a really serious resource that is absolutely amazing in terms of content and, extra features that I will show you in a moment. But in terms of language, it's really, really intensive. So you need to really think about what your students can and cannot yet do when you choose High Note as your next year resource. Moreover, so 7 tenses plus state verbs. So it's all in one lesson here. You will probably will divide it, contradicting myself, whatever. Divide this page into like 2 lessons because it's a lot, right? So you can see why you need lots of hours per week. It's really lots of materials. But what is great is that every this grammar and vocab spread ends with a video. So here, for example, people will be discussing how social media has changed the way that we communicate. So it's a regular topic, the development of informational technology and how it influences the way we live. So I just wanted to show you this video. I hope it works. I know that today there were some problems on the previous webinar by Chris Kirby, and the video didn't play till the end. So I hope it works okay, and you will be able to see, because actually this video is nowhere on the internet yet. You will be the first people in Ukraine to see this particular video. That's just, some inside information for you. And I want you to listen and to watch the people talking and to think about what they say has changed for the worse. So they will be discussing, they will be sharing their opinions on how communication has changed because of social media. And you just think about what has changed for the worse. So what are the reasons that, of the negative influence of social media? Okay, let's try.
How has social media changed the way we communicate? Social media has made it easier to keep in touch and stay connected with people from around the world. We've been able to spread messages with each other, and we can keep up with the news easier.
Well, social media has changed the way we communicate in many ways, one of which being, I'd say there is less real-life communication, such as, when you see a stranger at a bus stop or at the tube station, it's not a common thing to talk to them these days. However, I'm sure previously to a lot of the social media and new electronics, it was more common.
I always hear people saying that it actually kind of blocks us in communicating, but in my personal experience it's the other way around. Like, I meet way more people through social media than I did before I knew of it. I still talk to my friends. I'm not looking at my phone if we sit somewhere, but in general I think it's very practical and can help you a lot.
Social media has changed the way we communicate because people tend to message and call much more than they do meet face to face, and I know that because me being a young person, that's what we do quite a lot.
It's just made it a lot easier to stay in touch and to see photos of people, whereas before you would have to wait 3 or 4 days for the postal system to deliver a letter. Now you can see it instantly.
Social media has changed the way we communicate in various ways. I'd say it's made communication more superficial. It's not...
Okay, so I can see that there was probably just one person who was able to watch the video actually, so I'm so sorry for that. Unfortunately, we cannot influence that. Of course, we'll contact the tech support, but it's something that we have no access to right now. So yes, Gena, thank you so much. In the chat box, you can find the link to where all the samples of videos for HighNote are in one place on our webpage. So I hope that you will be able to see them there. So any other video will do. There are just 3 different types of videos in HighNote. So I'll just quickly mention that. These ones were the grammar videos that you find on this first grammar lesson. And they just work, again, as the model for student speaking. So there is a question, then, they watch different people answering the same question, and then they maybe gather some ideas and they are able to produce something on their own. There are also communication videos in HighNote, and they appear on the speaking pages, and they work as, the context for the functional language, functional phrases from those speaking lessons. So there will be different situations with like buying something in the supermarket, or giving advice, or asking for permission to go somewhere. So just as examples of using the functional language, that's what these communication videos are for. And the last but not least, the third category is documentary videos. They are very interesting because they come at the end of the reading lesson, but actually they are a separate lesson, which is called Watch and Reflect. And it's the whole page of exercises to do with this video. So it's the next lesson after reading. You watch the video, the documentary is on the similar topic to the reading text. It's not the same, but it's similar. And then they do all the activities now, pre-watch, while watch, after, discussion, some reflection exercises. It's all in there. Absolutely fantastic. Again, the samples are on our webpage. You can take a look at them after the session, hopefully. So by now, so far, I hope that you agree that language teaching with HighNote is intensive. There's lots of materials in there, both, language material like vocab and grammar, and lots of skills exercises everywhere. Context for grammar and vocab is always a text, sometimes reading, sometimes listening. So just as it should be in a course like this, everything is present. And now you may be thinking, so the topic of our today's session was Meet the HighNote, the perfect source for more than just language teaching. More than language teaching. I've been talking about language teaching, like exam prep and just while teaching English. What's more? What is this more that you may also need and want from a resource for upper secondary school? Do you have any ideas? What would you want from a course like this? Maybe you already know what I'm going to mention. And okay, ebooks, so digital components. I will definitely talk about it at the end, so you won't miss that. But yes, that's my favorite topic when I talk about High Note. Of course, it's the skills. It's all the necessary skills that High Note equips our students with that they need both while they are still studying at school and while learning all the material from the book, and when they finish school and go to, university, the first job, starting family, and so on. And maybe you have already, seen some other sessions, or well, you've just seen somewhere or heard from me that High Note is, I cannot yet say famous probably, but it's definitely well known for being the first ever resource that was created with the whole life skills development program in mind. So it's not just some extra lessons or extra tasks, one per unit or something. It's the whole program throughout these 5 levels that will help you easily, absolutely effortlessly develop all the necessary skills with your students. First of all, of course, there are these life skill spreads. So you can see here examples from High Note 2. It's the same in any level. After every 2 units, there is a spread on life skills. And the topics are absolutely brilliant, like how does advertising work? Maybe you've seen that in High Note Test Drive with my colleague Olena Mihodoy. There are very, very interesting topics. And in general, if we think about this program, this life skills development program, all the skills in all 5 levels are divided into 3 categories. It doesn't say anywhere in the student's book, it's in the teacher's book, it's in the mind of the authors when they were creating it. So the first is academic and career-related skills, so something the students will need when they start studying at the university and start the first job, or just choosing the first job, again, is a skill. Social skills, well, pretty simple, very understandable, and personal development skills, so something just for yourself. So now let's do a quick quiz. Let's play a game. I will show you a skill on the slide, and in the chat box you vote for which category this skill belongs to. Sometimes it may be tricky, sometimes they may belong to several categories at the same time. That's fine, just mention everything, every option that you think is the correct one. So it will be absolutely fine. The first skill is successful debating. What do you think? What kind of skill is that? Where will they need it? Okay, I can immediately see 2 options mentioned in the chat box. And well, even all 3 of them. Okay, yes, well, personal development skills are probably, well, every skill that you develop as a person is a personal development skill, right? So I think that you are right if you think that. The authors thought that successful debating is an academic and career-related skill, because that's probably when they will use it the most, right? On some seminars at the university and in different meetings and negotiations, probably when they start their career. But I absolutely agree with those who mentioned B, like a social skill, because debating doesn't only happen, in this room full of people with lists of points that you want to talk about. Any kind of, let's call it civil arguing, is kind of a debate, right? You have your point of view and you want to, again, being civil and decent, you want to just deliver this idea to the other person. So this will be a social skill, definitely, absolutely agree. And well, personal development, we just take it for everything. So let's think like that. Using the internet safely. That's the second skill for you. And I think it's probably, okay, it's not that obvious. So again, I have several options in the chat box that are being mentioned. And again, I agree with you about personal development. That's what we need to do. But well, just, thinking about how a teenager may see it, it's probably a social skill more. So it will definitely be about which information not to share with strangers or people you think you know, but you don't actually know, right? Or all the information about how to not use the same password, how not to share your credit card information, how not to post photographs of your credit card. So something like that, that's very important, absolutely. And the last here for today, avoiding time wasters. What do you think about this one? I think it's the most interesting one. A very similar page, a very similar spread from a different level, it is called managing your time. As simple as that, so just time management. Here it's how to avoid time wasters. So again, I can see all the options mentioned, and I absolutely agree that this skill definitely belongs to all the categories, because it's definitely a personal development skill, like all of them are, so I will agree with that. It is something you definitely need in terms of your academic life and career, right? So how to focus on what you have to do, what not to have with you on the table to distract you, and so on. So this is definitely it. And social life, again, just the same, talking to different people, you need to distinguish who do you need to pay attention to and what can be, put aside for now, and so on. So this skill belongs to all the categories. So thanks a lot for your ideas. And well, I hope that you will really, really enjoy these life skills spreads that always end with a project. So students will have to apply all these new skills in the real life, which is the best thing when we talk about skills that can happen. And it's not all. So if we come back to this life skills development program, it doesn't only consist of these life skills spreads every 2 units. So it's 5 per book, 5 levels, 25 life skills spreads. It's a lot, but we can wish for some more, right? It's never bad to wish for more. And this is probably what we all do from time to time. So here, throughout the whole book, in different types of lessons, your students and yourselves will find some reflection tasks. Some tasks to think about, some questions that develop critical thinking and, respect and seeing some other people's point of view. So all of these other skills that I talk about in some other sessions, which I will mention in a moment. So reflection tasks, they are actually divided again into 3 different types. So we've got reflect society questions that cover more like social issues. Then we've got reflect culture, in which the questions are connected with some cultural problems or cultural differences. And reflect values. So very important, we start this, values topic from primary school. If you have seen our presentations of Fly High Ukraine, then you know that we added this values tasks to each unit, because this is important. This is an important thing to talk about with students, starting from their, childhood years and with teenagers, definitely. So just to give you some examples, a reflect values, maybe something like this. Is it unethical for parents to lie to their young children about the existence of figures, such as the Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus or Father Frost and so on? Discuss in groups. What do you think? Just general wondering. Do you think it's okay, or do you think it's not great? We will not discuss that, obviously, because we don't have time, but that is a question. Yes, I absolutely agree. This is something to think about. So definitely they will look for some life experience. They will think about what their parents told them and how they felt, and if they want to do it with their children or not. So it's a lot to think about. That is why, once again, I cannot, stop mentioning that this book, this course, is really intensive and high level, not only in terms of language, but general content as well. The topics that are raised here are for the age of students that can cope with them, so that have some opinions and are able to share them. Well, it's even better if it is in English, of course. So that is why I recommend starting no earlier than year 8, or even maybe older, depending on your situation. Okay, reflect culture. Why do you think some tastes are universal and some are specific to a particular country? Right, so we know definitely what this Italian spice consists of. If I say this Italian spice for a salad or for potatoes, maybe you can smell it, basil, oregano, and so on. So this is that taste. If you think about India, like curry, and well, generally just spicy food. If you think about Mexico, it's very, very hot. Yes, but why? So what is it based on? Why is it like that? So it's a thing to think about, to discuss, to Google maybe, to find some reasons. So something very, very interesting. I would really love to, dig in that and find out why India loves curry so much. I have no idea right now. Reflect society can have something like this. Should teenagers receive pocket money from their parents or earn it? Say why. So again, depending on their life experience, their point of views, different students will have different opinions, and they need to, again, be able to civilly and decently share those opinions, respect each other's points of view, and just, discuss. So it's a topic for debates. It depends, right? It depends on lots of things. And in most cases, it will depend on just the situation, in the family, which is why I say they will all refer to their own personal life experience. That's what they all have and what they can use, either, to prove that it is good or bad. So that depends, of course. So when we talk about high note, it's definitely exam preparation, it's language teaching, and it's life skills. So these 3 components are present in high note, combined in a perfect way, and it's something for it's the course for teachers who will appreciate and treasure a book like this, and for students who are, again, old enough and mature enough. I won't rather probably say old, I'd rather say mature enough, again, to cover all these topics and to get the most from it, because there's lots of wonderful things in there, and they need to be able to cope with that. And just very quickly, I will mention something that somebody asked about, or just mentioned as a good thing for upper secondary school course, talking about components. Just, an extra cherry on top for you, for high note. So we all know, well, there is this classic version of the book, student's book and workbook, of the set, student's book and workbook. And with high note, you also get digital resources and My English Lab. So paper student's book, paper workbook, and something extra. Let's see what extra you get. What are these digital resources? First of all, it's 120 extra activities online. That's a lot. I hope you will agree with me. And those activities cover vocabulary and grammar from each unit. So more vocab and more grammar practice to revise the topics maybe before the test, or just to practice while you're teaching. That's up to you how you use it. And exam preparation tasks. So there will be vocabulary, grammar, and then listening, reading, use of English. and you get lots of exercises of different types. So if it's reading, it will immediately tell you true or false, multiple choice, or matching, or whatever the task is. So you can always find an extra activity when you're preparing for ZNO. There is always something here online. And if you know how My English Lab works, you understand that this is all checked by the program. So you don't need to check any of those extra activities. So if you are afraid that it's 120 more exercises you need to check, no, they are all checked by the program. And the access to video and audio resources plus the scripts for the students to be able to work with at home. So that's what you get even in this classic version. And that's not yet all. In addition to the student's book and workbook and all these extra activities, you also get access to the practice app in your mobile phone. So in this practice app, your students will also have all the audios and videos for the course. So no matter where they are, even in the lesson, if you don't have the opportunity to play the video or an audio track, all of your students and yourselves will have them in your phone. Again, if you pre-download them, you don't need the internet to work with them on the lesson, and you can do, a great real listening like in a lab at the university, when each of them has their own earphones and they are listening in a different space, at a different pace, at different speed, and they do the tasks as they are coping with the task. So it's not leveling them all, on one level in the classroom, but giving them more individual approach, even with such task as listening. If you want to try it out, actually it's free, and some listening tracks are open for everyone. So if you have your mobile phone right now, here's a QR code for Android users and for Apple users. So you can scan it, download and install this app, and just choose High Note, and you will see what you can play right now, just to see how it works. And yes, absolutely agree, innovation's next door, like right here, don't need to go anywhere, not even the next door, it's like on the table right here. And there are lots of funny things there, so you can play the recording faster or slower depending on your level and so on. So just play around with it, I am sure you will like it. So that's the classic version, student's book, paper workbook, extra activities and digital resources plus practice app. But again, as our regulars, as people who are here very often, I'm sure you can always choose the blended version and choose to work with the fully online workbook. So you will get the same, you will get these extra activities and digital resources as well. You will get your mobile app, plus the whole workbook will be online on My English Lab, which means no more checking homework. You check just, writing and speaking, and that's it. And everything rest is checked by the program. So again, you can find more about High Note via the link that is in the chat box. Thanks, Gena. So that's it. I really, really believe that this is a fantastic book. It's absolutely new. It's something that has never been, nothing has ever been even like closely or even remotely similar to this resource here in our market.